Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream today. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're able to hear me, able to see me. Please say hello in the chat if you're here. I do have subscriber mode only on today, basically for the first 5 minutes. If you're not a subscriber and you want to participate in the chat, then go ahead and subscribe. And then after 5 minutes, you'll be able to participate in the live chat as well. So I haven't done a live stream since I think it was the 23rd of June. So it's been about 2 months and I thought it was time, and have lot's been going on. So I haven't really been able to get around to doing a live. We were going to plan to do one last month in July, a combination with Joe Trelli from Controlling Technologies, but that didn't pan out. We were hoping to surprise everybody and do a live stream from my front porch outside, but the visit didn't happen, and due to sickness and things like that. So maybe we'll do that in the future, who knows? But let's see. It says we have 4 of you here today. We got 5 likes, 4 people, currently 4 people. And I see that TVJ is in the crowd, so thank you for being here, Jay. Jay says audio is good, so good to know. Thank you for that. Jason Palmer was here. He stopped in to say hello, but he can't stay. Jason's channel, he's a Jason's Lab. That's his channel. Let me grab a link to that and put that in the chat. Actually, I'll do that at the end of the video. I'll put all the YouTubers that came to join me today. I'll put links to their channels in the chat before we close off. Hey, MT. Let me bring the chat up on the screen. So we have MT is here with us. Thank you for joining, MT. Appreciate it. Hope all is well. And then again, like I said, we have TVJ here. So it looks like we have 4 people still, 6 likes. I guess people are bouncing in and out. I don't have a lot to cover today, so it's probably not going to be too long of a stream. And it was a job that I was working on recently in a local area. It's a local bank job. I can't mention the name or the location, obviously, but I was allowed to do some video footage on it. And I released the video back on August 13th. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. There's a link. There'll be a link in the show notes to this stream. So check it out. This is kind of a follow-up to that. Hey, Justin, thank you for joining. Hope all is well with you. Appreciate you taking the time out to be with me here on a Sunday afternoon or morning or evening, depending on where you're from. Yeah, Jay, they at first I didn't think they were going to allow me to take any footage. When I first asked, the VP of the bank that I was dealing with was like, not quite sure. But then he got back to me about a week later and said, yeah, go ahead. So I was like pretty happy about that. So Mr. Cromhout, I hope I said that correctly. Cromhout, hello, thank you for joining. Where are you from? I think this is the first time I've seen you in one of my live streams. So thank you for being here. Let me know where you're from, and I appreciate you joining. So we have 9 of you here and 6 likes, so we're growing. Controlling Technologies is here. Joseph, welcome. Thank you for joining. And we have Jeff here. Hey, Jeff, thank you for joining. Jeff, where are you from? Jeff says, hey, Tony, I learned a lot from your videos. I do appreciate that. Justin says, all good here in Northern Florida. Thank you for joining. So like I said, we have, hey, Ashley, how are you, Ashley? Thank you for joining. So Joe, I told them about our live stream on my front porch that was supposed to happen last month, but it didn't due to sickness because the visit didn't take place. But, you know, maybe we'll surprise them and do that again in the future. Central Florida, Jeff. Thanks. Thank you. MT says, here at 8:35 p.m. in Hanover, Germany. Wow. Thanks for joining, MT. Mr. Kromkow is from the Netherlands. Thank you for being here. Hey, Steve. Thank you for joining the live chat. Love the channel. Ubiquity point-to-point VPN from a couple of years back was a huge help. Oh, I appreciate that very much. And Steve is from Campbell, California. Well, thank you all for being here. Like I said, I haven't done a live stream since the 23rd of June, and just needed to get up here and do it. So we have a lot going on here in the Tony Quik Tech household. The daughter, grandchild is here living with us, and father. They've been here with us for a week already. I think they're going to be here at least minimum of another week. They're having some mold remediation done in their place, and they needed to be out while the work was being done, especially with the 6-month-old baby. So here they are. It was one of those things where insurance is covering a lot of the work, but they were giving my daughter an issue with, renting a hotel. And for that matter, they have 2 dogs, a pit bull and a chihuahua. We have 4 dogs. So now I have a total of 6 dogs living here, and 4 adults and a child. So needless to say, mom and dad said, come stay with us and don't worry about the insurance possibly, denying your claim, your hotel claim. So here we are. Unfortunately, the baby got sick midweek, and that sickness ended up going around the house. I've been so lucky so far. I haven't gotten it, but my poor wife has been in bed since Friday evening. So, yeah, it was time for me to come upstairs and get in the studio and do something. So here I am. So thank you all for joining. Again, we have 12 of you here and 9 likes, so I do appreciate that. Please hit the like button. It just helps out the channel quite a bit. Joe says, didn't know Tony was going live. Wish I did. Well, now you know, Joe. And yes, Jay, that is definitely a full house. It's amazing. We have a pretty decent sized house, but it's amazing when you put a couple extra adults and a couple extra animals, how small it becomes right away. But it's all good, right? That's what we do as parents. So in any event. Okay, so let me just bring that back up on the screen. Hold on one second. Jay says you should set up a bed and breakfast and charge the insurance company. Yes, right. Give her a receipt, right? Did the stream just start, or are you wrapping up? No, Joe, we are just starting. We are just getting underway. Ashley, yep. Thank you, Ashley. Hit that like button. Yep, Quik Tech's got a lot. Quik Tech's going to the dogs for sure. But you know what? We're animal lovers, so that's okay with me. The more the merrier, actually. Don Irons, hey Tony, first time watcher. Thanks for filling my hole with that pie hole video. I'm blocking all kinds of things now. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for joining. Where are you from, Don? Let us know in the chat. Thanks, MT. Appreciate that. All right, so again, today I just wanted to do a quick follow-up stream. I have some more additional footage from that bank job. I know that sounds like a heist, right? But from the actual networking job we did at the location. And after I recorded the video that I released 2 weeks ago, I was able to get some more footage when we were pulling the runs, not so much pulling the runs for the ATM, but what we had to do to be able to pull those runs. And I'll get into that in a few. All right. Don says, Florida, where else? Okay, we got a lot of Floridians in the house today. We have had such a major heat wave here in North Carolina the last 2.5, 3 weeks. Combine the heat, it's been close to 100 every day, but combine that with like 90+% humidity, and it's been pretty brutal. The last couple of days, it's been raining and cooling down a little bit, a welcome relief. And yes, Justin, Quik Tech bed and breakfast with complimentary Wi-Fi. There you go. Wonder how my wife would go for that idea. But in any event, getting back to the actual live stream topic for today. So if you haven't watched that video, again, it was let go on August 13th, 2 weeks ago. The link is down, will be down below in the show notes. So if you haven't caught it, go catch it if you find that type of content interesting. Today is just a follow-up. So let me get rid of the chat off screen for a second. Well, it's not on screen, but let me get rid of it because I want to show you one thing before I get into the additional footage from the bank. And that is, let me just get this situated here and switched over. Okay, hopefully you guys can all see that. This is just a document I wanted to share with you because I find it very useful in my own design when I'm designing and picking out devices for networks. And another tech YouTuber friend of mine, Avi, from the Tech Me Out channel, also mentioned this document in one of his recent videos where he switched out a Unifi switch. And I just thought, I know a lot of you that are in the chat that watch my videos and probably here in the live stream are using Unifi, maybe not, but some of you are. So I thought it would be a good document just to share. I don't want to get into too much of this as far as the main topic for the live stream, but I thought it was good to share. And it's basically the Unifi document on supported POE and input modes. And if you just like scroll down, it just talks about all the different types of POE that Unifi offers that their devices require. So it's a very good document. In fact, I'm going to drop a link to this down in the chat before we get into the back to the bank. But you can see here it talks about the 3 different types of PoE: 802.3 AF up to 15.4 watts, 802.3 AT to deliver up to 30 watts, and then 802.3 BT to deliver up to 60 watts. And then it just goes through the different models and what they put out, like here, the switches, what they support. So this, the 48 PoE, the Pro PoE, supports all 3 forms of PoE. It even breaks it down to tell you what ports the BT is supported on. So I thought this would be a pretty helpful document for those of you who especially are out there designing networks. So again, here's the access points and the type of PoE that the access points require. And it just goes on and on. It talks about the legacy devices. So yeah, I just thought this was worth sharing with all of you. So let me drop a link to that real quick, to this document in the comments. And yeah, you're seeing the comments now, but that's okay. Let me just drop this in here. And there you go. Okay, well, I just wanted to get that done right off the bat so I did not forget about it. Okay, so let me bring this over. We're not going to be real high tech here. We're going old school, right? I got 3 images here that I want to just talk about quickly, and then I have a video that I do want to share with you, and I'll narrate what's going on in that video in a second. But real quick, let's just take a look at what I have going on here. So this is the outside. There were 2 of these orange underground conduits run by the general contractor's team. One was for electricity for the ATM machine. The other one was for the low voltage cables going out to the ATM machine to get it onto the network, as well as also for a surveillance camera out at that location as well. Well, what happened here was, you can see now there's only one. The ATM was being delivered on a Thursday morning, and on the Wednesday morning, the contractor's electricians went and they took one of those orange conduits and then obviously fed it underground, did whatever connections they needed to do, ran it up here, and they brought it into the building. Well, they were supposed to do both of them, right? Not just one, but they said it wasn't in their contract. Well, it definitely wasn't in our contract to take this conduit leg here and bury it and then adapt it and bring it into the building. So obviously I'm dealing long distance with the VP of the bank that I'm working with, and he's telling me that everything's done. Can we please get out there and bring the cable, that we left rolled up inside the building? Can we get the cables out to pulled through the conduit and out to the ATM machine? And I was like, sure, until we got there and we found that, both of these conduits weren't buried and brought up into the building. And that was supposed to be done for us. It wasn't in our contract to do this part of the job. So realistically, we had to have a conference call, and I had to get, negotiate for additional work, for additional fees, because again, this wasn't in our contract. This was supposed to be taken care of by the actual general contractor. So in any event, the guy needed it done because here it is a Wednesday morning and the ATM was being delivered on Thursday morning. So we agreed on a price, the additional fees, and then I asked him to send me a email of intent approving the additional work, and that we would, once I received that, we would get there that day and get the job done for him. So the email came in. We did get there, but later on in the day, we got there around 6:15 that evening. So we were racing kind of against the clock because it was starting to get dark. We're losing daylight around here at around, say, 8 o'clock, 8:15. So we didn't have a lot of time, and we needed to get those wires pulled and actually terminated at the end where the ATM was going to be. So again, both conduits were supposed to be done for us. It wasn't, so we ended up having to do it. Now you can see what the contractors, electricians did. They didn't leave us much room here. Here's a little bit of a better shot, and you can see there's just slight a bit of room here. Now the only place we were allowed to come in, according to the job supervisor, was in this area up here. Well, you see all this right here, all this high voltage stuff. It was kind of difficult to get something up here. We had to work with this area here. So what we ended up doing, and the video footage that I'm going to show you after this highlights a little bit about what I'm about to show you. But what we ended up doing was we ended up coming in right around this area here, and we were able to squeeze our own conduit down on the side next to theirs, right? And then we did a bend to 90, I believe that is. And then right behind the bush, we actually put our own outdoor box. And then we actually trenched dirt here behind the bush. And what we ended up doing was coming in with a flex. Oops, sorry about that. Coming in with our own flex and then up into the box. So that was the plan once we got there. That was pretty much the only way we were going to be able to get this adapted and fit into the building. So needless to say, it was a bit of a pain. Fortunately, I do work with an electrician. This wasn't all on me. Yay. But again, we had to deliver it. So in any event, let me make sure I have the right footage queued, and then let me just show you this real quick. Hopefully you can see this. Okay, so right there, I just paused that. Right there, you can see we're coming in. Now, I know the first thing you're thinking is, wow, all those electrical BX cables right there. We really did not want to come in there, but we really didn't have a choice. We did try to come in a little higher, but from the outside, it wasn't going to work. So we kind of made that conduit coming in go a little bit quite a bit past those conduits, those BX cables, so that hopefully they were, far enough away. Again, this is all up in the ceiling. It's not going to be seen. So there we're just maneuvering, getting it started. And what we had to do was take this black cable, which is a gel cable, direct burial gel cable. Is about 165 foot of it. We just got it all rolled up, and we have to get it to the outside once the conduit's in place. And here you can see we're just starting to install our piece of conduit coming down off the LB fitting. This is just showing you where it's going. Now this right here, coming up from this is where the ATM is actually going. You can see the electricians have their cables in there already. I have the conduit that we're pulling. They actually did put a pull string in for us, which was really cool. So we didn't have to vacuum suck our own string through the conduit. At least they did that. I have it tied off so we didn't lose it to that piece of rebar. And then you can see here, we're actually trenching. We had to go about 12 inches down for low voltage. And there was a lot of other voltage, a lot of other low voltage, a lot of other conduits in the area. So we had to be like super careful with that. And here you can see we're just coming down. There's the bend that I was talking about. You'll see it in a second. And then it goes right into the box there. And then there's the pull string. We adapted the orange conduit to our own piece of flex conduit, buried it, had to glue it all off, put the fittings in, etc. And we brought that pull string up and through. So yeah, that was fun, but we actually got it done. So yeah, that was interesting. I just wanted to share that. So then from there, let's see. From there, we were running now close to probably 7:30 at that point. So we still had quite a bit of work to do because we had to get 2 more cables besides that 1 cable. So what we did was, and I should have gotten footage of this, but I couldn't because now I was worried about time and daylight and stuff. But what we did was we brought that 165 feet of cable out to the outside of the building, laid it out nice so that there were no kinks or curls to it. And we took 2 more rolls of gel direct burial, set them up, and then we just taped them all together, actually intertwined them with the rope, cut away about 8 inches of the jacket on each cable, and then took a couple of pairs and just kind of knotted it and threaded it through the rope. What we did not want to do was lose that cable during the pull, and then we taped it all up, and we were able to get it through all the way down. And then on the other end, what I ended up doing, because everything had to be terminated for them in the morning. So, and yes, I actually did my terminations with a headlamp. We were starting to lose daylight, but we got it all done. I just left in that area where the ATM went. What I did was I just left the cables terminated into biscuit boxes, and then I just wrapped everything up in a Ziploc bag and taped it all up to protect it from the elements. And we figured until the morning that would be, just fine. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Let me just get over to the screen here. Let's see. Let me go back to the comments for a second. So MT says, thanks, Tony. Great information. I'm assuming, MT, you're talking about the Unifi POE document that I showed earlier. Yeah, the ATM machine. Yes, the ATM. Jay says, how often do you see things like this happen? I guess all the time. It's not my job syndrome. But honestly, it wasn't our job. I mean, we could have made it our job from the get-go. We would have just negotiated that into the original price. But we were told it was going to be done for us. So anyway, thanks, Joe. Yep, it's getting there. It's getting there. So for us to do that additional work, let's put it this way. We did an additional work order, a change order for not to exceed $2,000. It came in somewhere at around $1,750, I believe, is what I actually ended up billing them for that additional work. Plus, there was also an additional cable being pulled. We were originally only supposed to pull 2 cables through, and we ended up pulling 3. So between all the adapting that orange conduit and bringing it into the building, plus the additional cable. I think we bill them an additional $17.50. So I hope that answers your question. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It happens, and you just got to roll with it. So the gel cable, it's not that it's hard to work with. It's just a pain in the rear. It just gets all over you. It's sticky. What I did was I brought a bottle of rubbing alcohol, 90%, with a rag. And after I cut the jacket off to terminate them, then I just saturated the rag with the alcohol and wiped the whole thing down to get as much of the bulk off as I could. Then I pulled each pair out and wiped it down again, snipped away the plastic. What's the proper word for that technical term? But anyway, snipped away the plastic divider that divides the pairs, and then untwisted the pairs and then wiped each individual conductor down. Just got to make sure you get all the gel off. So in the process, obviously, it's getting on your hands. And, fortunately, we didn't have to do too many of those terminations. It's not fun to do, but you just got to make sure you get all that gook off those conductors so that when you make your crimp, you get a good termination. I know I already asked you this, but might be interesting why you chose purple cable indoors. Yes, you did ask me this, Joe, but not a problem. I will address it. So I could just tell everybody because purple's part of my theme, right? But that's not the real reason. Although I should make that a standard when I do these jobs. The reason we went with purple was simply, it's just regular Cat 6 cable. It's not anything, regular Cat 6 UTP. It's not anything special. It was just that it was an office building with one suite in the office building where there was another business in there. Obviously, there were a couple of businesses in there prior to the bank moving in. And there was just a ton of cabling up in the ceiling already. There was a blue cabling, there was white cabling. Then you have the fire alarm cabling. So what we did was we just said we need to pick a color that will just differentiate from the existing cable so that if we ever go back in the future to do any troubleshooting or for whatever, we could identify our work easily from the rest. That was really as simple as it is. That's why we picked a different color. We could have picked black. We could have picked green. We opted to pick purple, and it just happens to be, yes, it is part of my theme, but it had nothing to do with the decision. You got red for the fire alarm, you got brown for the thermostats, so the existing data runs that were up there were all blue Cat 5E, I believe. So in any event, so that's why we did what we did as far as the color. Looks like we have 15 folks here, 13 likes, so that's pretty good. Thank you so much. And Joe, I hope that answers your question. Steve says, doing what's right for the customer. Hope the bank understands and rewards you in the future. Is there any concern? There's always concern. I'm concerned about it, but sometimes, Steve, you got to do what you got to do to make it work. I mean, that's what we were dealt. Those are the cards we were dealt, and that's, we had to play the best hand that we could. So, again, it is in conduit. It is not, you got to do what we got to do. I hope for the best, right? So, but yes, that's definitely always a concern. Justin says, I often do the same thing, Tony. We use orange and yellow. Yeah, exactly. So it just makes your work easier to differentiate from the rest. Did you do any lightning protection? Not yet, Jay, but on the inside where those cables come in, we are going to put the surge protectors. So the Ethernet surge protectors. So yes, we haven't yet, but that's part of the plan. So I hope that answers your question. So yeah, so okay. So what do we have left to do? If there aren't any other questions yet in the chat right now, what do we have left to do at the bank? We are almost done. I did pull up, let me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right, let me switch over to this screen. All right, so this is just a clip from the video that I released 2 weeks ago. I just want to get to this point right here because I don't have the pictures of it anymore. So what we did here is we ran, they built a new wall, and we ran 4 and 4 because there's going to be a quad box. There's going to be some center teller stations out in the center of the floor here. So what we did was, before the sheetrock went up, we ran in flex conduit, 4 cables in each conduit, and they didn't trench this deep enough at the time when we did this. So we just left it in the conduit like this. But now we've gone back. They did actually trench this deeper, and the actual GCs, electricians, did install regular PVC conduit. So they piped it up here, down deeper here. I think they're down about 12 to 16 inches now, and then comes up, and it's going to go, what's going to go into the millwork. They're building cabinets. And so what we ended up doing was cutting our flex here carefully without nicking the wires, and then pulling our wires through the actual conduit that they installed for us. So it just will come up into the millwork a lot nicer. And then here's that roll I was telling you about earlier. There's that roll of gel that we just left waiting in the wings until that conduit work was supposed to be done for us, but it was never done. We ended up, obviously, like you saw here, doing it ourselves. So any event, that's that. And if you're wondering what that other purple cable was, kind of mixed in with that black gel cable, that's just another lead coming from the rack, from the cabinet. I talked with the VP of the bank. He's the VP of the IT information. And, you know, we were coming pretty close with the length of the run on that gel cable to the ATM. We're very close to the 300-foot mark, you know, and I had suggested to him early on when we first walked the job that he consider putting a switch up in the ceiling there. But he had said no. But then when he booked the job, he had turned around and said, give me 1 home run all the way from the ATM to the cabinet, and then give me another one to this point here for a switch. So he ended up doing 1 and 1. So that's what that other purple cable is at this point. So anyway, let's go back to the comments. Let's see what we got. All right, so Jay says our network cables at work are blue, but we also use blue for HD video. Sometimes that is confusing, so I wish we had a color plan. Yep. Joe, nope, we did not have to use plenum. We could have used plenum, and we would have used plenum if the code had required us to use plenum, but we did not have to use plenum for this particular job. Justin says, yeah, TVJ, like Tony said, much easier to find your wires and troubleshooting. Yes, and again, that's the only reason, and purple just happened to be the color that we pick. The fact that, again, it's part of my theme, my channel theme, had really nothing to do with it. So, yeah. So that's about pretty much it. You know, like I said, I didn't think that this would be a long stream. We still have 9 of you here. We got 14 likes, so I'm happy about that. Thank you all for being here. So what's coming up? Well, what to look forward to on the channel. I got some stuff to do. I have this right here that I still have to do a video on. This is that solar street lamp. Now that we have the fence up in our yard, it was installed this week, I could figure out a way to mount it temporarily, mount something like a pole, a couple 2x4s or whatever, so I can mount this light and get it tested and do a video on it. So that's coming. In the back of the room over there by those boxes on top of that gray cabinet, I have a Unifi Wi-Fi 6 Professional that I still have to open up, do a video on. I have two U6 lights. I'm not going to do videos on the U6 lights because I did a video, probably about a year ago on the U6 light versus the UAP AC light. But I have two U6 lights there. I have behind them, I have two Switch 8s, the new Switch Lite 8s, and then I also have a Switch Lite 16 back there. I don't think I'm going to do a video on the Switch Lite 8s, but I'll probably do a video on the actual Switch Lite 16 at some point in time. And then I still have to do a video. I started working on it. It's just not done. I still have to do a video, one more video on the Synology RT6600AX. I want to do a video covering the safe access parental controls features that are built right in. So that's coming soon. Next week, I have another video that I did on the YubiKey coming. This week's video, yesterday's video is on using the YubiKey to connect to Google. Next week's video is going to be the YubiKey to connect passwordless sign in to a Synology NAS. So yeah, so we got things in the things in the fire, and go from there. So let's see, we got any more comments? Joe says, what did I use for Keystone jacks? The vertical cable, Joe. Vertical cable Keystone jacks, and I used their punch down tool. Makes the job much, much easier. Okay, so let's see, we got 8 of you here, so I can see we're starting to file out. We've been going about 42 minutes or so. Again, that pretty much covers everything. I hope to get back to doing my streams on a monthly basis. Boy, the 2 months went awfully quickly. But in any event, thank you all so much for being here. And hope you enjoyed the little bit of information that I shared with you today. Oh, I do want to just add a couple of YouTubers here. Let's see, we have Controlling Technologies. I want to just drop your links in the chat. So here's a link to Controlling Technology, Joe's channel. Here's a link to TVJ. By the way, if you haven't seen TVJ's most recent, actually 2 recent live streams, guys, go check them out. He's in the TV broadcasting arena, and I tell you, his last 2 live streams were just killer, man. I almost didn't even want to come on live today after that. But in any event, yep, I believe that's everybody. Let's see. I did mention Tech Me Out. Now, I know he's not here today, but I did mention him earlier because he mentioned that Unifi document. So let me give him a shout out here. And I believe one more guy I want to go get. He's been pretty supportive of me as of late. His name is Jason Palmer from Jason's Lab. Let me just look him up and share his link with you. He's got a newer YouTube channel. He's trying to get it off the ground. So yeah, man, let's give him some love. Here's a link to Jason's Lab. And you're welcome, Jay. Appreciate it. Yeah, man, you did some killer streams. And I love learning. Look, as a child, I was always infatuated with television broadcasting. I always wanted to work in a television studio. When I was 6 years old, I decided I wanted to be a cameraman. Well, that obviously didn't come to pass when I grew up. Life got in the way, right? But I've always had an infatuation with this stuff. So listening to you and watching you, it's almost like me being in Disneyland. It's like, dream come true. And I get it firsthand from somebody I know. So yeah, well deserved. Let's see. Joe says, did you learn anything you didn't already know on the bank job? We've done a couple of small corporate sites like this already, Joe. So I think the only thing I could really say here is, yes, I learned to deal with the gel cables because I really, even on the previous corporate work we had to do, I did not have to do any work with anything other than regular Cat 6 cables. So, learning how to work with the gel cables, practicing, obviously, a couple of terminations before I actually did their terminations, learning how to clean them and, get the gunk off and work to make them workable. Yes. And yes, I also learned a lot by watching my electrician do that work and bring the conduit into the building. Could I do it myself in the future? I would probably say if I absolutely had to, I would. However, I would prefer to leave that to the experts, and electricians do that kind of stuff all the time. But yes, I did learn about the different fittings and adapters and gluing and securing. And I think the biggest thing out of that whole thing that I showed you for me wasn't piping all the conduit and digging the trench. I think the biggest thing for me that would scare me is punching the hole into the building, because I hate to punch a hole in the building not knowing what I could be punching into. So fortunately, in that particular situation, it was pretty clear. We were able to see on the inside that it was nothing but brick. I mean, there was no cinder block to break through, no kind of firewall or anything like that. It was just straight brick. So it was a pretty easy punch through. But so yeah, I did learn quite a few things. So great question. Thank you. Let's see what else we got going here. Again, Jay says, thanks for the nice words. You're welcome. Yep, 100% on Jay's streams. And then Jason, I'm going to try to see if I can put together a stream for tomorrow night. Awesome. Okay, so you guys all have Jay's channel now, so catch his stream tomorrow evening. All right, we have 9 of you here, and we have 15 likes, so thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, I hope you enjoyed the stream, and like I say at the end of every video, we'll see you next time.